What's up, you guys? If you clicked on this video, you're probably exploring getting into saddle hunting. Maybe you thought it was just the latest fad, but since it hasn't gone away yet, now your interest has peaked and you want to learn more. Or maybe your wife got you a saddle for Christmas at the recommendation of a good friend and it's still sitting in your office and you're wondering how the heck to use this thing. Or maybe you have some questions like, is it safe? Is it comfortable? What the hell are all these ropes? Or how to pick the right tree to hunt from. Let's jump right in, and by the end of this video, you'll have a much better grasp on what saddle hunting's all about and if it's for you. Really quickly, if you like this type of information, make sure to smash that like button. It helps me out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. For starters, it'd probably be helpful to explain my progression as a deer hunter. I started in northern Michigan 18 years ago with one ladder stand that never moved, and to no surprise, I struggled to even see deer. From there, the next step was to buy as many budget tree stands and sticks as I could afford, scatter them all across the properties that I had access to hunt. And while that was a huge step up and allowed me to start seeing a little bit of success, I still struggled to have any kind of consistency. And after a decade of inconsistent results and little success to show for, I finally got my first run and gun tree stand. And while it was way lighter and way more mobile than anything I'd used in the past, my back still hurts just thinking about carrying all of that stuff through the woods. So over the last bunch of years, I've been evolving my process, trying to become as efficient and as lethal as possible, and that's what's led me to saddle hunting. Right here is all you need to get started saddle hunting. That package right there. You need a climbing method or a way to actually get up in the tree. You need a saddle, which is what you're actually sitting on and what you're hanging from in the tree. Then you have the platform, which you're standing on, and you'll notice it's much smaller than the traditional tree stand platform, and that's by design. In terms of climbing method, this is where a lot of people overcomplicate things. There's a million and one ways to get up the tree. Personally, I just like a lightweight climbing stick. It's just like climbing a ladder. These are the Carbon Speed Series sticks from Latitude Outdoors. They're all carbon fiber, they're made in the USA, they're super lightweight. I'm not gonna get super into how to actually climb the tree today, but what I will say about it is just after a couple reps of practice, you'll learn that you can climb quietly, efficiently, without exerting a ton of effort, and that's gonna make you a lot more mobile in the field. The next thing that we'll do is run through the anatomy of the saddle so it starts making a lot more sense to you. This is the Classic 2 saddle from Latitude Outdoors. It's a single panel, and this is the main part of the saddle. That's what's actually going to be under your butt, supporting your weight. And this is just a lightweight mesh, barely weighs anything, and then it has these external supports to keep it from bunching up under your butt. But then on the front, you actually have a high strength, durable rope belt because everything in this saddle is metal free, which makes things really light and very quiet. You have the bridge, which is what you actually clip into a carabiner and what attaches you to the tree, and that's what supports a lot of your weight. On the outsides, you have lineman loops, and I'll show you how those work in a second, but that's where your lineman belt actually is going to attach to the saddle, and that's what's going to allow you to ascend and descend the tree safely every single time. So every time you go hunting, you get to go home to your wife and kids. On the side of the saddle, I have a dump pouch, and that's where I keep my tether and my lineman belt, which I'll show you in a minute. I have a little plastic hook where I hang my platform as I climb the tree, so I can just lift it off, hang it on the tree, and always have it at my disposal. And then on the other side, you have a retractable bow hoist, and this thing's pretty cool. Basically lets out the perfect amount of line as you're ascending the tree, so there's not a bunch of slack and your rope's not getting caught in branches blowing around in the wind. And then as you pull your bow up to hunt, it automatically retracts and just makes things a lot easier for you. So I have my platform set up just about ground height, and this is how I would encourage everybody to practice. Once you get your saddle, before you climb up in the tree 25 feet and decide to practice up there, you want to practice at a lower elevation, get comfortable with things, and then you can start working your way up the tree. But before I ever step up onto the platform, say I'm still on my top stick, that's about how high I would hang my platform off of my last stick. But I would reach over here to my dump pouch and pull out my lineman belt. As you can see, it's already attached to my left lineman loop, and that's just because I like to eliminate as many unnecessary steps as possible. So it stays out of the way, because once everything's tucked away in there, it doesn't get in my way at all, but it's already connected when I need it. So I take that out, and this is all the lineman belt is: rope with another carabiner on the end. So I would pass that around, clip into my other lineman loop, and this would be from the ground up. From before I even step foot off the dirt, I'm connecting. And to address the question whether saddle hunting is safe, I've never felt more safe in my entire life. Before I started saddle hunting, because I was stupid, young, felt like I was bulletproof, I very rarely used a harness when climbing fixed tree stands or mobile hunting. Thank God I never had a fall, but every year you hear about people falling out of their tree stands or falling out of a tree, dying, getting paralyzed, breaking their legs. Hunting is awesome, but coming home to your family and your kids is a lot more important. But what I would do once I'm on my top step, before I would even step onto the platform, I would reach in my magic pouch here and pull out my tether. And what your tether is You got a rope with a carabiner and a sewn eye. And all that does, go around the tree, feeds back through itself. And then this carabiner is what's gonna clip onto the bridge if you go back to our anatomy lesson, and then tighten on there. So at which point I would step onto my platform. I would reach up here and adjust my tether, which a good starting point is kind of somewhere face height, forehead to chin, and then I would tighten that up. Now that I can put my weight onto the tether, I can let go of my lineman belt, and I'll just pass that back around the tree, bunch that up, put it back in the pouch. At this point, I'd pull up my bow and all that other good stuff, but I'm essentially ready to hunt now. And it doesn't take very long. It might seem like a lot of steps to somebody who's never done this before, but once you get a little bit of practice, you're gonna be flying up at the tree, dead silent, you're gonna be super efficient, and it's not gonna be that big of a deal. To set up properly from a saddle, you basically wanna plan for your shot if you're right-handed. This is what you would consider your strong side. This is what you would consider your weak side. So in a tree stand, you'd be sitting facing away from the tree, and this would kind of be your strong side, and then your weak side would be over here. It's the opposite. So since I'm right-handed, I'd want my bow hanger somewhere right up in here. I can grab my bow, draw back, and if you're expecting the deer come from this way, like that's how I would set up. Same thing, you could shoot basically anywhere in this direction. And then typically, if I'm trying to shoot a deer on the opposite side of the tree, I just lift my bow up and over, and your bridge kind of rotates in the carabiner, so it allows you to turn your hips. So I grab my bow, turn my hips, and then I'd be able to shoot that side. So really you have 360 degrees of shooting mobility. I talked about it earlier, but one of the beautiful things about saddle hunting is everything is personal preference. So how you hang your bow, how you hang your backpack, how you get up the tree, how you set up your saddle, how high you put your tether, everything is personal preference. Some people like smaller trees to set up on, some people like bigger trees. Typically, I would try to be in a tree about this size, maybe a touch bigger, and I like branches. That's the thing, we're not using climber stands here, so even with branches and brush coming off it, with lightweight climbing sticks, you're able to kind of rotate around the tree as needed to avoid those branches and get set up. And then as far as the comfort goes, if you're feeling hip pinch, there's so many different ways to adjust for comfort. I'm not going to get into that today, but you can adjust your tether height, you can adjust where your bridge is connected to the bridge loops. There's just a lot of different things you can do. Last season I did 13 all-day sits from dark to dark during the rut, and 9 of those were from the saddle. So definitely able to sit in them for long periods of time with comfort. And the best part about it is if you don't like the spot, all you have to do, climb down, take your stuff, go find a different place you like better, try there. So super efficient, super lightweight. After I finish hunting, I pack up everything, I put my backpack on, I lower my bow down. What I would do while I'm still on the platform, hook up my lineman belt again, hook onto my other loop, tighten that up, and I would basically get the weight on the lineman loops, let it off the tether, so that way I can loosen my tether, disconnect, bunch that up, put it back in the dump pouch. And now I would step down to my first stick, work my way down the whole time, staying connected to the tree, take off my platform, and just work my way down. And then once you hit the ground, only then do you fully disconnect from the tree, bunch this up, leave that side connected, put it in the pouch, and you're good to go. The only other real consideration is having a way to transport your sticks and your platform into the woods. And this is the Transfer Pack by First Lite. It's a little bit bigger backpack. It's got a waist belt and has a little bit of structure to it. I really only use this backpack because I'm gonna be carrying a lot of camera gear into the woods as well. And honestly, that's where a lot of the bulk and weight comes from for my setup. If you're not gonna be filming and you're not gonna be carrying a ton of extra stuff into the woods, any old hunting backpack will probably work as long as it has some type of compression straps on the front. Personally, I like these horizontal straps, and I like to carry my sticks vertically and have my platform on the back as well. So if you have any old hunting backpack with some compression straps laying around, more than likely you're gonna be just fine with that. If you do wanna be a little more efficient or wanna tinker and check out some other backpacks, I can link to some down below in the description if that would be helpful. And if you're still on the fence about getting into saddle hunting, I would encourage you just to give it a try. If you're looking to be more mobile, there is no better way out there in my opinion. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.